always at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. San Francisco 49ers, unfortunately, struggle in this matchup versus the Minnesota Vikings, and playing in Minnesota continues to be a house of horrors for the San Francisco 49ers. They're just not able to get over the hump and to get a big victory in Minnesota, and it's unfortunate. And, you know, I've already seen chat starting to come out, stand on it. Not very happy here, says, we better not give Purdy $60 million. And I think we just need to err on the side of caution when having, I get it. You're frustrated. We're upset. This game didn't go well. Brock Purdy had 2 interceptions. He had a play that some plays that looked really bad. But let's not forget that Brock Purdy has 2 losses in the NFC in his career, games that he's played in the regular season, and they're to the Minnesota Vikings. So, this game was not good for him, but let's wait and see. Let's see what happens. Let's see how the 49ers respond, but I get the frustration, that is for sure, and I understand why people are upset. And what's up, Josh? Josh says, horrible game, just ugly all around. It had a really weird feel to the entire game, and it felt like the 49ers were constantly the ones playing catch-up the whole entire time, even when it was 0-0, and you saw that Brian Flores' defense was frustrating again to Brock Purdy, frustrating again to Kyle Shanahan's offense, and they did a really good job. You got to give credit to that defense. They played well. 49ers had some breakdowns on defense on their side of the football. That big 97-yard touchdown pass to Justin Jefferson was an absolute killer. At that point, Minnesota had moved the ball, but they hadn't been able to get the big play, and they got it, and it looked like Jair Brown was out of position and gave up a big play. He's going to have to learn from that. It's a long season. 1-1 is not what you want. You want to be 2-0, but it's all about how you respond after this. It's all about how you play after this. And the thing I will say, the 49ers did not play a clean game. They did not play a very good game today. They had moments that were good. They had moments that were really bad. The good news is they lost by 6 points. It wasn't a killer as far as they didn't get dominated, because a lot of football teams would have got dominated when you play that bad. But let's give a little bit of flowers to a guy like Fred Warner. Fred Warner was absolutely fantastic in this game. If there's any questions about who the best linebacker in football is, it's over. Fred Warner with the interception of Sam Darnold, the fumble at the 1-yard line that he caused from Aaron Jones. Fred is just a special player, and he is by far the best player on the 49ers defense. And I know we've got Nick Bosa, and Nick Bosa is great, and he had 2 sacks in this game. But Fred Warner is the best player on this football team. In fact, he's a talent that's better than everybody else. I went blank on what to even say about this guy. I mean, this guy is just fantastic. So, the game didn't go the way we wanted it to go. That's for sure. 49ers had a lot of mistakes. We're going to go through all that. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, you can, leave whatever you want in chat and we'll get to it. If you're listening audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe, please give it a 5-star rating. And if you're going to bet with Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. Bet Online is every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. You think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet Online. The game starts here. And David Campbell, what's up, David, says, Warner looking like he will lead the league in forced fumbles. Exactly. I mean, he's got that punch down to a science. He got the one that he punched out of Sam Darnold as well. I know it went out of bounds, but Fred is coming through it. He's looking to make plays. Fred Warner's different. He's just different than everyone else. He's special. He's, Scott Hansen was on the red zone, and Jay Hill texted me and he said, "Hey, Scott Hansen just said we got to stop talking about Fred being the best linebacker and start talking about him being, the best defender and a potential Hall of Famer." And I think that's where we're at with Fred. He was fantastic. He's the one causing turnovers. He's making plays. Give credit to Isaac Yedem. He came up with a couple footballs that were on the ground. The punt that was muffed by Jacob Cowing ends up in Isaac Yedem's hands. Then he gets the one from Fred. So Yedem is finding the ball there. I don't know if it was the cleanest game for Yedem in coverage. I'm really curious to get to the all 22s and start talking about that. But yeah, I mean, Fred Warner is great. David says the 49ers, not so special teams. Last week, DVOA 6th best in the league. And you're like, woo, here we go. Then you get the block punt and you get, the muffed punt by Jacob Cowing and you get some, iffy other things. Yes, special teams did not have a good day today. They're going to have to respond. They're going to have to get better. I wasn't a huge fan of the onside kick attempt either. I get not putting the ball in a tee, but where you want to get some sort of a wicked bounce or a wicked spin, and I didn't see that from Mitch Wisnowski's onside kick, and I'm sure they probably don't focus as much time as onside kick as they used to in the past. Now that you can only declare it for fourth quarter, but you're right. It wasn't so special today. WTM says, I agree. We better not give system has Brock Purdy $500 million. So I'm not ready to go where you guys are going with Brock Purdy because I saw Brock Purdy make a lot of nice throws today. I get it. He threw a couple interceptions and, some very risky passes. I will say this. Let's see what happens when he plays against other defenses. If he continues to have struggles like he had today, then all of you guys are on the right track, and the 49ers are going to have to figure it out. But we've seen Brock Purdy navigate really good defenses. Brian Flores' defense is very tough to handle. They do a really good job, and they cause some problems. But just think about this. The 49ers had 2 turnovers in this football game. They had a blocked punt. They had some blown coverages, and they lost by 6. That's the difference between them and a lot of teams, that even when they have bad games, they're still in the mix to win the game. So I get it. I get the frustration for sure. Anthony says, why did Purdy not hit Mason on the flats majority of the game? Vikings didn't cover Mason at all. It's something that I saw as well. I definitely was, saying that as I was watching the game. There were times I thought Brock Purdy should have checked it down. I don't know what he's looking at that moment. And so I think maybe it'll get a little bit more clear when we start seeing more of the all 22 and not the copy, the TV copy. But I was with you, Anthony. I think when I was looking at the game, I saw some opportunities to check it down. Another thing that was a little frustrating for me in this game, and it's something that kind of carried over from last week when it comes to Brock. And right, we got to say the things that he does well and the things that he does bad, is I thought that there was a couple of times he could have thrown the ball away and he took a sack. And one in particular, he's outside the pocket, could have got rid of the football, took a sack. And then we ended up having to go for it on 4th down because George Kittle on 3rd and 13, came up 3 yards short. So there are some subtleties to what Brock Purdy's doing right now that, maybe aren't on point. Maybe he's still working back in, but definitely some things like that I saw. And I think you're on point, with your reaction there. David says, what was the matter with Purdy today? He was the least of the 49ers problems. Purdy had a pretty good game. I think that there was mistakes for sure. I mean, the ball came literally just out of his hand, open hand. I don't know. It slipped out of his hand, what that was. The other one, that was a great play by Cashman, but he was really trying to fit that into a tight window to Kyle Juszczyk. I think with Brock Purdy, you get a mix today of really nifty plays, like the one moving around the pocket, getting the ball to Deebo Samuel. That was really nice. Finding George Kittle a couple of times. He made some great rhythm throws to Deebo and Jawan over the middle of the field. I thought that was really nice. And I thought that those were great. I think it's just the couple hiccups that really got Brock. And I do think that the coverage must have been tough because he was holding on the football a little bit longer than we normally see Brock. But, I mean, he was ripping it in there. I think there was just a couple mistakes that were huge and pivotal because of where they happened on the field. I mean, the Martellus interception over the middle of the field was in 49ers territory, and he ended up returning it, inside the 20. Next play, we get a breakdown from Jair Brown or Charvarius Ward, depending on coverage, for a touchdown in the back of the end zone. And if that was on Jair, that's 2 because he messed up on the one with Justin Jefferson as well. So some miscommunication for this 49ers defense on the back end. We also saw the 49ers go with Malik Mustafa at one point and George Odom being off the field. So I don't know if that was because of play. I did see Odom in there for the onside kick and other special teams plays. So I don't know if they made the switch overall, and that was just a decision to see what Malik could do. But the 49ers could definitely use Talanoa Hufanga back. I think that's clear to see. Anthony says, Mitch got me so mad I have to leave and make slime with the kids. There you go. Go have fun. Yeah. Enjoy yourself. I mean, that's the thing is these games are frustrating and they're going to frustrate us, but it's a long season. We got 15 more of these in the regular season. And so we just got to make sure, we see things come up and that the 49ers just keep doing it. DJ says, Trent had a spin move block early. Didn't look good at all from what I saw. I saw the Trent Williams. I think that was one that came on a blitz. I didn't see a lot of the things that happened. I know the 49ers gave up 6 sacks. I know the one for sure, like that Brock Purdy got, that one was on him. He kind of just gave himself up instead of throwing away the football. That was outside the pocket. I don't know. So I do think that there were plenty of times I seen Jake Brendel end up on his backside again. I seen Aaron Banks, have some struggles sometimes even in the run game as well. So I get it. I really do. But Sand says, I'm surprised my team won against the 49ers. You know what? You shouldn't be surprised. You know what I mean? It's crazy. If you go back and you watch, I did the toughest games for the 49ers this season, and I had Minnesota way up in the top 5. And it's because of how the 49ers play when they travel to Minnesota, Cleveland, and other places there. It was pointed out to me last year during the offseason. Somebody pointed it out, and it has been a real problem for the 49ers playing in those areas. And so, once again, 49ers struggled. I thought this game was going to be the 49ers winning 24-17, and it was actually the other way, right? 23-17, eerily close to last year's 22-17 game. And Anthony saying, hey, did Odom get benched? I don't know. I think that's one thing we'll have to wait and see. I don't know if he got benched. Maybe he got nicked up. Maybe he wasn't, feeling 100%. We'll have to wait and see. I'm sure Kyle Shanahan and his presser will reveal everything. So we'll find out what exactly that looks like. And David says this about Brock. Purdy was 28 of 36 for 319 yards and a tutty. There was good with the bad. I'm worried more about the defense. And, this is interesting. You're right. You do get really good stats. And I remember looking at it at halftime and saying, if you looked at the 49ers stats, they were winning time of possession. Brock Purdy only had like 3 incompletions, and he was doing pretty well, getting things going through the air. And then you looked at George Kittle, and he had 5 catches for 54 yards and a touchdown. And you just look at the stats. Jordan Mason had over 70 yards rushing. You're like, wow, 49ers offense, they're moving the ball. The problem was you had the big 4th down play, where the ball gets tipped. Once again, we get a free rusher off the edge. Trent goes out. Aaron Banks has to stay inside the block. We got some miscommunication. Ball gets tipped there. If not, you've got a touchdown for Jawan Jennings. So there were just a couple of mistakes that definitely changed the trajectory of this game. Did Brock play terrible? No. I just don't think he had the cleanest game, but I don't think that this is a indication that Brock Purdy's now not a good quarterback. I think Brock Purdy's still a good quarterback. I think this is still a good football team. Now, I'll say this about the defense. The defense had struggles on 3rd down. I mean, that's just as clear as day. Last week, they went 60%. They were giving up 60% conversion rate on 3rd down. We knew that was bad, but we didn't know how much that was just Aaron Rodgers on one drive. Now we've seen today that Sam Darnold and the Vikings went, I think it was 7 of 11 on 3rd down. That is really good. And that's not good for the 49ers defense. So 3rd down and getting off the field on 3rd down has been a problem. They had that last drive, the Vikings went down and kicked the field goal to stretch it to a 2-possession game. The 49ers had plenty of opportunities to get off the field, 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12, and they couldn't get off the field. So that is something that we're going to have to watch. And I think some of the mix-ups in the secondary are correctable, but the 49ers are going to have to make sure they correct it. And so right now, they gave up a lot of yards in this game. They didn't give up a lot of points, considering there was the 2 big turnovers by Brock Purdy. The defense did a pretty good job as far as holding and not allowing this thing to get out of control. So, and David Campbell says this, Mustafa did come in the series after the Jefferson TD. Yeah, so that's the question, right? I know that on the TV copy, they were saying that Jair got caught, and I do believe as a single high safety look, he did get caught trying to read the crosser. So Jair Brown cannot let anyone deeper than him. So maybe they were looking for more speed at the position, and maybe they decided to go with Malik. Maybe they always planned to go that way. But yeah, I mean, it was a direct correlation. So we'll see what happens and how the 49ers handle the substitutions when it comes to safety. Anthony says, I think this defense is fine. The offense needs to wake up. Where is BA? I don't think BA is back yet. I mean, even the catch that he made, down there at the last drive, he still put the ball on the ground. Luckily, he was touchdown and he was just trying to get up. But it just, right now, it doesn't feel completely back to normal. It doesn't feel like BA is comfortable where he's just rolling right now. And I think you saw Deebo Samuel have a really good game. George Kittle making plays. But you're missing that Deebo factor in this lineup. Jordan Mason, another good game on the ground. 49ers feeding him the rock. He had some really good carries, and he looks like he's a very competent and very physical. And the 49ers can win with Jordan Mason in the backfield. I don't think he's a problem. But I think what we're seeing right now is Jawan had some good catches. Deebo. Ayuk had a few in the fourth quarter. So I'm hoping that maybe Brandon Ayuk will get it going a little bit. He started to create a little bit of separation against Stephon Gilmore, but Ayuk used to cook Stephon Gilmore. Ayuk used to cook number one corners, and we're not seeing that yet. So maybe he's still working into shape. Maybe that's part of the problem. But right now, BA is not as effective as he was last season. And so I'm hoping that as he gets more work, as he gets more time on the field, he's going to continue to grow and get there. But you're right. I mean, this is the thing right now. He's not all the way there. And the 49ers are still just making some mistakes. And here's the problem. 49ers are really good at playing in front. When you play a defense like Brian Flores and they get you back on your heels, that's when you start having problems. And that's when they can come after you. And I thought that there were stretches where they just overwhelmed the 49ers offensive line. And so that is part of the problem and why the 49ers lose this game and don't win. David says, the 49ers gave up 150 on the ground, too. They couldn't set an edge to save their lives. And I think a lot of that, too, Sam Darnold had some big carries as well. I think he had like 34 yards rushing in this game. And one of those, ended up in 3 points at the end of the half. They ran man coverage. They locked everyone up. They did a really good job. But when you do that, you don't have anyone to account for the quarterback. And Sam Darnold found an area to run. And I thought that he had a couple really pivotal scrambles in this game to get first downs. So, I mean, Sam did a good job of having timely throws and also using his legs. The 49ers bottled up, Aaron Jones for the most part. But I thought that Ty Chandler had a really good game running the football as well. So you're right. Too many yards on the ground. 49ers going to have to clean that up a little bit. I think that last drive was a little bit of a killer where the Vikings went 6.5 minutes. 49ers had opportunities to get off the field, got to some third downs and just couldn't. And so you're right. The edge was a problem for the 49ers in this game. But sometimes it was the middle too. It looked like the Vikings, the 49ers held water. And then at some point during the end of the third and fourth quarter, the Vikings running game really got going and they were putting the 49ers in some precarious situations. So yeah, the defense is going to have to clean up mistakes, but I think it wasn't all bad. I think this is going to be one of those ones you look and you're like, man, if we wouldn't have turned over the football and, we would have taken advantage of like the fourth down play, where you had a chance to get in the end zone, in the red zone, that play, the block punt. I think if you take those things away, 49ers win this football game. But the problem was you can't take them away. Minnesota made plays. Minnesota blocked the punt. Minnesota, had the interceptions on Brock Purdy. For whatever reason, weird stuff happened, just like the empty hand and it gets intercepted. Weird things happen when the 49ers play Minnesota. Now, you got to bounce back. You've got to put this film on. You've got to look at it. You've got to be honest with yourself. I wasn't in the right positions. I didn't make the right plays. And you've got to correct those mistakes because you got a divisional matchup next week against the Los Angeles Rams. And you know what you are and you know what you're not. You know you're a good football team You know that you're not bad. You just didn't play your best. And week in and week out, you have to be at your best if you're going to win in the NFL. And I think that's exactly what the 49ers are going to have to do this week. And DJ says, I agree. Defense got put in a bad position. And that's the unfortunate part, right? I mean, they were holding up really well. Then you get the block punt, short field. They hold them to a field goal. Fantastic. Then you get a short field, off the Brock Purdy first interception, and it's a touchdown on the next play. Confusion there. Then you get the stop. You had these bad situations. And I think we had a couple blown coverages in this game that end up getting some big plays for the Vikings, none bigger than the Justin Jefferson 97-yard touchdown play. Those things just can't happen, and I think that's really frustrating. Anthony says, Ant, do you think Aaron Banks is hurt or just playing sloppy? I think he looks a lot slower than he did last year at the early part of the season. So I do think his lateral quickness is struggling, so I wonder how that calf is. It's healthy enough to play in this game. But I also seen him miss some run blocks. There was one play that Jordan Mason got hit in the hole, and I was watching. They showed a replay, and Aaron Banks just missed the linebacker. He couldn't get there in time. So I don't think Banks looks as good as he did early on in the season last year. I think he looks, kind of in between that and what he looked like at the end, where he was just a walking wounded. So they're going to have to get him more up to speed. But if he's not going to get healthy, they might have to go to Spencer Burford. So we'll see. And David Campbell says the Cardinals are up 14-0 on the Rams. And that's the thing about the Cardinals. They could score. The Cardinals are going to have no problem scoring points. It's going to be the defense for them. Can they hold up? I think it's going to be interesting. And DJ says, man, the NFL is volatile. Cowboys got boat race too, right? And I think that's the key, right? The Saints are scoring like crazy, but the 49ers played bad and lost by 6. And I don't know if the Vikings are as good as the Saints. I don't know, what yet. There's only 2 games of the season. What I do know is when you don't play good, you have mix-ups in the secondary, you turn over the football, you have a block punt on special teams, you muff another punt, and you lose by 6, you're a good football team that made mistakes. If they would have got boat race like the Dallas Cowboys did, then you are a team that, when you make mistakes, you lose big. 49ers were able to mask some of those mistakes with good play, and with a guy like Fred Warner single-handedly making this turnover battle even by making some things happen, knocking the football out, making an interception. I mean, Fred is just, if there's anything we can take away from this game, is that Fred Warner is an absolute savage. He's an absolute stud, and I'm excited to see what he can do for. So 49ers, they came off a short week. They played in Minnesota in the 10 o'clock window, and Minnesota, they haven't won there in 32 years, 8 straight victories for the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. This one's behind the 49ers. Of course, it's not going to be, we're going to look at the film. We're going to break it down. I'll have stuff on the channel this week where I talk about, what I saw, and, we'll get really deep into, the breaking it down, like who had good games and who didn't. And then if you like Patreon, head on over to Patreon. I'll be doing my breakdowns all week of the offense, defense. And so you guys can check those out. Every single play, we'll go through the players, who made mistakes, what coverages they're in, all that stuff. So, yeah, we'll get into all this stuff and break this game down even further. David Campbell says Lions lost to Tampa too, I believe. Yes, that did happen. So, some big-time NFC teams fall today. So lots of 1-1 records. 49ers are going to be okay. But they've got to make sure they win next week against the Rams. Divisional games are important. Then they get the Patriots, and then they get the Cardinals. So we've got another 3-game stretch, and hopefully Hufanga will be back for one of those. And I did think another guy just to mention real quick, Yetur Gross-Matos made an impact in his first game back. It was nice to see Gross-Matos out there. And so I think he'll get better too as time goes on. So really excited about that. Thanks everyone for joining me. I really appreciate you guys joining me for the reaction show. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. Listening audio platform, 40 Yards Cutback on Believe. This episode was brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. And remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.